Hey y'all, Jim Pankey here. Let's talk about surviving your first Bluegrass Jam and what you might need to know. And I'm just going to throw some ideas out here for you, and hopefully some of them will be exactly what you're looking for, and some of it's going to be kind of ambiguous, but we're just going to talk. And I truly hope that you'll start attending some jams. All right, so let's talk about some of these things. But before we do, if you like this sort of content, if this is helpful, leave a comment. And a great idea for a comment in this video would be your favorite tips and tricks for surviving a jam. Also, if you'd like to support the channel, please consider hitting subscribe. I know there's a bunch of you haven't done that yet, so give that some thought. Just hit the button. It's free. If you want to get notifications when I post new videos, ring the bell. All right, now let's get into this thing. Before you go any further, if you have not been through my Bluegrass Backup Banjo series, give that a peep. I think it's 5 or 6 videos, and it's going to give you a bunch of tools and ideas to use when you're playing backup, because in a jam, that's the bulk of what you're doing, is you're just playing backup. So it would be, to your best interest to go check that out. But you're here right now, so I'm going to give you some tips and some ideas of how you're going to survive this jam. Now, I know some of you are out there saying, Jim, I'm practicing every day. I'm trying to get ready. I'm trying to learn enough so I can go to my first jam. Well, it's not going to happen. You can read every book in the world and watch every video in the world on how to swim. But until you get in the water, you're going to find it difficult to learn to swim. And the same goes for jamming. So you're going to have to go. You're going to have to find a jam. It's festival season. I'm wearing a festival shirt today. It's Coke Ovens. This just happened a weekend or so ago. It's that time of year, and you're going to go out and you're going to see people picking, and you're going to want to do it, because that's why we do this. It's fun to play with other people. So my first bit of advice to help you survive your first jam, or any jam, is you got to go. You have to go be in that jam session. And now what? All right, so here are some handy ideas. And I don't have a numbered list or anything like that. And this is going to kind of be all over the board. And just bear with me, and we will figure out some ideas about how you can survive a jam. When I first started playing, I would go out and buy Bluegrass Songbooks. That was a thing. There was several different versions available, and I show you a couple in my backup series, but they look kind of like this. You would get words to a song, and then above the words, you would see chord changes. And that told you, you sing the song, and when you get to that chord, then you change to that chord on whether it's your banjo or guitar or whatever you're playing. And that's a good way to sit and try to start hearing these changes. Another thing that you can do is just follow along. Watch the other banjo players, see what they're doing. And if you know some guitar chords, that's helpful too. So let me do this. Let me go grab a guitar, and I'll be right back. And I will show you, just in the key of G, some of the chords that you are very likely to see. And I'm just going to be dealing with the key of G today, because so much of what we do, we will use our capo and move around to get to all the favorite bluegrass keys. G, A, B. Those 3 are real common, and there's others, but if you get these down, the others will start to make sense. So I'm gonna go get a guitar. I'll be right back. All right, so I'm back with a guitar, and I hear you. Jim, I don't play guitar. You don't have to play guitar. It's not that big a deal. I mean, you might enjoy learning some guitar. It's a good place to practice hearing chord changes and strumming. But I'm going to give you a few shapes that you are very likely to see in the key of G. We're just going to be dealing with the key of G. That's just where I'm going to focus this, because if you can do that, then you can figure out the other keys. But start with this. So a lot of people play a G chord and it looks like this. So you just, it looks like that. Some people will play it and it'll look like this. Some people play it and it looks like, but you see they've got that string covered. I mean, I've even seen guys play it and it looks like that. But those are G's, so be familiar with that. The other chords that you're going to see, there's a couple more. There's a C chord and it looks like that. That's a C chord. And then D7 is down here. So if you see them move their fingers to there or there, both of those are D's, D7 and D. Both of those are, to you, are just D or D7. And you can play your, if you're in the key of G, you can just play your D7 shape. It'll work. So those are your three main ones. You got G, 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 C. Sometimes I hold it like that. Sometimes you'll see that. And then D7 or D. So if you're familiar with those will help you with the bulk of chords that you'll see. A couple other chords that might come up, you might see an A7 chord. Sometimes it looks like that. Sometimes it'll look like that. Some people will play just an A chord, and that's just holding those three down. But A7, and a lot of times you'll just see that bar. Another chord that you'll often see is an E minor chord. We use it in Foggy Mountain Breakdown. It's a good idea to know what it looks like on guitar, especially if you're in a jam. And so they're just holding two fingers there. I play it, sometimes I'll play it with just one finger. And so those are shapes that are really common. Sometimes you'll see an F chord. It looks similar to a C, but it's just further down. So G, C, D7, E minor, and F. And those are very common chords. Be familiar with those. I hope that helps. Now I'm going to go get my banjo again. All right, so you've showed up to the jam and you're not exactly sure what's going on, but you got your banjo out and somebody leans over to you and tells you what key we're in. So we're in the key of G. So as long as you're in the key of G, all of this is going to work. But what do? You can just do an alternating roll, just 3, 2, 5, 1. And just do that in time with the music. You can alternate it to the 4th string if you want. And then somebody's going to sing. And let's say you could watch the guitar, then you can hold your chord shapes that you need to match the guitar. Somebody calls Blue Ridge Cabin home, and so they're singing, there's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside. So you're just going to do a roll. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside. See, that doesn't sound right. That means the chord changed. So we're just going to pick a chord, flip a coin. It's going to be either a C chord or a D chord. It could be something else, but chances are, and we're going to play the odds here, it's either going to be a C or a D. So let's just pick one. Let's try D. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside. That doesn't sound quite right. So we make a mental note. When we come back around to that again in the jam, we're going to try something different. So it comes back around. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside. Hey, that sounded pretty good. And so the song continues. Where I wandered. No, it's not that. Where I wandered. Maybe it went back to G. Where I wandered. No, that's no good. Maybe it went, what's our other chord? It's the D. Wondered when I was a lad. I'm gonna guess maybe it went to G. Lad. Hey, that was right. So now we've guessed our way through it. Yeah, it's a guess. You're gonna guess. You're gonna hope for the best. You're gonna flip a coin, and just try it. What's the worst that happens? You play a wrong note. It's not the end of the world. Nobody gets hurt, except maybe somebody's ears, and most likely it's just going to be your own. And so you're going to try. You're going to try some different chords and see which ones work. But in the key of G, you got a G. You could always go back there and hope for the best. It's either going to be a C or a D7 or a D. Those are going to be your primary ones to try. And when in doubt, take a peek over at the guitar player and see what they're doing. So let's go back through that song again, just doing our roll. There's a well-beaten path on this. We decided it went to C. Let's make sure. Old mountainside, that sounds good. And then it went to a D7. Wondered when I was a lad. We're back to G. There I wandered long to hey, that sounds like it's going to go back to the C, so we're going to try it. Place I called home, that was right. And then last time after the C, it went to the D. So let's just try it. In those blue ridge hills far away. And that's a simple way to try and figure out what the chords are. But maybe somebody will call a song that has chords that you're not familiar with. Sometimes folks will call something like The Old Home Place, which is a bluegrass standard. And a lot of times, some of the bluegrass guys say, okay, we're going to do Old Home Place, and they're going to say it's got an off chord in it. You're going to say, well, what the heck's the off chord? And say that. Say, well, what's the off chord? And hopefully they can tell you. And if they were to call something like The Old Home Place, it's got a couple of off chords. It's got chords, and when I say off chord, what's that mean? It means it's not either the G, the C, or the D. It's something else. And in Old Home Place, we've got a couple of off chords. We've got a B chord, which is different. We've got a A-chord, which is different from those. And it's helpful to kind of be able to either watch the guitar player and see what they do, or ask. And because when you hear that change, and you go when you try to make your guess, it may take you a time or two to actually figure out what they were doing. So it's a good idea to have a little bit of knowledge going in, but you don't need much. You can still play your alternating roll or forward and reverse roll. Just pick a roll you're comfortable with. It's been 10 long years. So where does it go to? Years. That's not right. Years. That's not right. So we've tried the chords we know. It's got to be the off chord. And they told us it might be A or B. Years. That's no good. So we try our B. Years. So we're guessing. We don't know, but now that sounded good. We're going to hold on to that. Since I left my home, and so where does it go? I will tell you this. Here's a tip. If you have a bluegrass song and it goes to a B chord, chances are the next chord's going to be a C. It's not always that way, but chances are it's going to be a C. So after it's been 10 long years since we're going to have a change, and it's going to go to C. I left my home. Where does it go? It goes to G there. Home and a holler where I was born. Is that a B? Born? No. Is it A? Born? No. Is it C? Born? Nope, it's not a C. Born. How about that? That sounds pretty good. Born where the cool fall nights. There's that B again. Nights make the, and where does it go after B? It goes to C. Wood smoke. It goes back to G. Rise, and a fox hunter blows, blows, nope, blows, nope, blows. See how that fits? His horn. And then the chorus. Oh, what chord does it go to? Does it go to C? What? No, try D. What have they done? It's a D to the old home place. Why? Oh, there's an off chord. Is that C? Why? No. Why? No. Why did they tear it down? Ooh, it changed again. And we can kind of hear that change, but where's it go? Here's another rule of thumb. It's not always right, but it will work most of the time. If you go to an A chord in the key of G, the next shape is going to be a D or D7 down. So why did they tear it down? See how that works? And back to a G. Why did I leave? It goes to that B again. Leave my, where's it go after B? Right, C. Plow in the, goes back to the G. Field and look for a, goes to the D7 this time. Job and the last word of the song is usually the key of the song. Town. And I'm just doing an alternating roll. And if they came around and said, all right, take a banjo break. Maybe you don't have one, and that's okay. Just let it go on by. But you're able to sit and just play those chords. It's been 10 years since I left my home in a hollow where I was born, where the cool fall nights make the wood smoke rise and the fox hunter blows his horn. Oh, what have they done to the old home place? Why did they tear it down? And why did I leave my plow in the field and look for a job in the town? And that gives you just an idea of how I go about figuring out what the chords are. When I was a kid learning, I would put on the album and I just play it, figure out what key they were in. Sometimes I knew, sometimes you could tell, sometimes you had to hunt it. And then I would play along until what I was playing didn't fit with them, and then I would back the needle up on the record and then try a different chord. When that change came, I'd try a different chord until I got the chord that worked. And you say, Jim, that's just a long, drawn-out process. It is, and it isn't, because in the process of doing that, you're teaching your ear to predict, to hear what's coming next. Because in the key of G, you got G, C, and D, and then some other chords that could happen, but those three, and if you're in G and you hear a change, it's either going to be C or D. And if you're in C and you hear a change, it's either going to be G or D. And if you happen to be on a D chord and you hear a change, then it's going to be G or C. You can just flip a coin. You try one, and you will know immediately if it's the wrong chord because it's just going to sound bad. It's a little negative reinforcement, and it will help you remember next time when that comes around, it's going to be the other chord that you didn't try. Because in a jam, nobody's stopping. You're just going to have to sit and figure them out. And when they come back around, you can know. And if you sit on the outside circle of the jam and just try to watch, listen, try things, experiment quietly. I mean, you could technically take your picks off and just sit back there and try to figure out the chord changes. That's totally okay. That's what you should be doing. But that's how you're going to survive your first jam. You can do this, but the only way you're going to do it is to do it. You can't just sit at home and memorize a lot of tunes, because a lot of times you might wind up in a jam where they don't do the chord changes exactly like what may have been in the book, like this. So these changes are a little different than the way I play the song. So you have to be able to listen and try to figure out where the chords are going. And I truly hope that makes sense. This is just a quick and dirty way of doing it. But by doing it this way, you're actually going to start really hearing these chord changes, and you'll be able to sit through a jam session and survive. I'm sure of it. I'm absolutely sure of it. So I hope this was helpful. The biggest thing is go to the jam, sit and watch, then go back to the jam, get your instrument out, and just try. You can't learn it if you don't try it. And thank me later. You're going to have a good time. I promise you. All right, folks. We'll see you next time. Bye.